Greetings YouTube and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble and today we're going to be going over all the white cards in Ikoria, Lair, Behemoths. The first time I said red because there's a lot of red in this thing and there's a lot of orange but it's white. This is, well, actually it's a three-colored creature, but we're going over the white cards, right? Okay, cool. And some of you may be wondering, well, didn't he just say he was really sleepy and is going to bed? Yes, but I'm wearing this again for continuity. Don't worry, the other things, I'm clean. Okay. Going forward now, but it's important to stay healthy. So let's just see how we're doing. We're going to look at things mostly from a limited and a standard point of view, because I don't really know too much beyond that. We will begin. Is that really the first one? Oh, yes it is. Okay, Blade Banish. Hello. So, 3 and a white for an instant. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater, and we see the Wanderer of all things. Kind of an interesting person to, I don't know, to be on the plane, but I mean... He, she, they are a planeswalker, Emrakul, what? I don't know. So I mean, they could be wherever they want to. Kind of a interesting little cameo there. So in limited, yeah, this is great. The fact that even exile is pretty nice. I don't think it'll see any play in standard, even though, you know, exiling is very strong there. It is limited removal in that it has to target something for greater and it's expensive. So limited, totally, you probably play as many of these as you want to, as many as you can, because 4 or greater are going to be the things that are going to be in the way, and if it's power 3 or less, unless that is a great ability, then you're probably going to be able to deal with it some other easier way with creatures and whatnot. So yeah, limited awesome, standard not so much. Moving on, Checkpoint Officer. Costs 1 and a white for a 1/2 that has the ability to pay 1 and a white and tap it to tap something else. Very similar to, I believe, Law Rune Enforcer. This effect is okay. The fact that it costs 2 and you have to tap this creature as well, it's a lot you have to invest on just keeping something your opponent has tapped down, essentially. Worth noting, well, no, because they still get the untap phase, so you can't keep them from using some sort of tap ability. You can force them to use it, but whatever. Usually you use it to either stop your opponent's creature from attacking. Of course, make sure you declare this. You use this before attackers are declared, because then you're out of luck. Of course, if your opponent doesn't say, you know, declare attackers, then if they just go straight and turn things sideways, it's like, well, I'm going to do this first. It's just a little timing thing. But anywho, but yeah, this isn't a great thing. The fact that it's only on a 1/2 body as well isn't so good. In standard, 0 play, I'd say. And in limited, you could try one of them, but just the investment is pretty tough. Realize that the creature that you're trying to pin down to this probably isn't going to stay down for very long. There's a decent amount of removal. There's other creatures roaming around here. They can just mutate onto something else, who knows, so don't put all your eggs in this basket. Alright, cool. Coordinated charge. Am I supposed to rate things? Oh, I'm supposed to give numbers. Oh my goodness, okay. Standard 0 to 5. Limited, like a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe even a 4. I mean, 3.5 is not. Okay. Standard 0. Limited, 1.5 out of 5. Okay, here we go. Now we're back on track. Oh my god, I was like, something felt wrong. I love numbers, and they just weren't there. Okay. Coordinated charge. 4 and a white. For an instant, creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. And cycling for 2. In standard, I'm going to say 0 out of 5. In limited, the fact that it comes down on turn 5 means you probably already have a board, hopefully, so it should have targets to go for. And if it doesn't have enough, like, not really targets, but you know, if it doesn't have enough things to affect on the board, then cycling for 2 makes the problem go away, or makes, you know, this card go away that could really be useless. Cycling is such a nice mechanic. It just smooths out so many games. Like, that's part of the reason why they actually changed the mulligan, because they want to have more games that are actually games, and not just like, well, I didn't draw enough things, so I'm done. Like, you know, I do all lands, or, you know, mana flood, mana screw, whatever. So, yeah, this kind of helps fix that issue as well. You know, oh, I didn't get the card I needed, so, you know, oh, this card's useless. And cycling just for 2 is kind of a standard thing, although the price does vary. But yeah, this is a cool card. In limited, I'd say like a 2 out of 5. I think this isn't too bad. I just encourage you to go wide, so maybe a little bit less mutate. If you have more mutate things in your deck and you're planning on using them, this isn't as good, because you use a creature as like fodder for that. And in standard, yeah, 0 out of 5. But in limited, I give it like a 2. Yeah. Alright, cupboard, and then we have a rare, and it's a pretty nice looking thing. I don't know, I like the artwork here. So for 3 and a white, you got a 3/5 with lifelink. And whenever this creature mutates, create 2 1/1 white, I don't know, cat creature tokens with lifelink. So let's say you don't mutate it, and for those of you wondering about what mutate is and such, and I don't think we have any monocolored companions, so I'll be in the multicolored card review. Multicolor, colorless, and land. Ooh, land. Actually, some of these lands are pretty spicy. But yes, there will be a video in addition to that one going out. Just going over the set as a whole and the mechanics, and just kind of trying to answer any questions people might have for it. So I will talk about the details for Mutate in that one. For now, I'm just gonna go over it. So with this thing, imagine it's just a 4-mana 3/5 lifelink. Okay, nothing fancy there. In standard, that is a 0 out of 5, but it doesn't do enough. In limited, it's okay. It's like a 2, maybe, yeah, 2.5 out of 5, I would say. It's decent just because it has a body there, but it's not really statted aggressively. It's very, very low attack, so you gotta be worried about that. For 4 CMC, 4 converted cost. Now, as far as mutation goes, it's nice that the mutate cost has the same total mana cost, so that's cool. You're not losing too much there. And whenever this creature mutates, you make 2 1/1 white cats. So that does potentially remove. It actually does 2 things when you mutate with this, which is rather nice. Not only does it, in a sense, replace the creature you're mutating on, because if you mutate on top of a creature, that one's gone, right? Or underneath, you're losing a creature somewhere in the process. You had 2 creature cards, now you have 1. But then you create 2 1/1 white cats, which you can mutate onto as well. So you're giving yourself more targets if you'd like to, and you are keeping some creatures on the board. So it's actually really, really nice. Depending on how mutate goes, but this is, yeah, not bad. Just keep in mind that 1/1, 1/1s aren't exactly, the backbone of your army there. So yeah, I made 2 1/1s, and then my creature, died, and now what do I do? But yeah, I still like it. So in that sense, I'm gonna say standard. I'm gonna give like a 2 out of 5. I think it could definitely see some play somewhere. I think someone will make this work just because of the way the mutate thing works with it. And in limited, that's a 2.5. I'll give it a 3 just because it puts more creatures on the board and gives you more targets to mutate off if you need to. So if you're going like a mutate heavy deck, not bad at all. Day Squad Marshal, 3 and a white for a 3/3 human. Let's see. Oh, thank goodness you don't spit out little humans. What if it was a human cat? Funny thing is, since mutate always has to be in a non-human creature, changelings, which are all creature types at all times, can never mutate. Okay, moving on. So when Day Squad Marshal enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So you're paying 4 mana for 4/4 total worth of stats, but the 1/1's probably just gonna hang out for a while, maybe chump block, kind of go away. Standard 0 play. In limited, like a 1 out of 5. I don't like this thing at all. It's okay, but it's not anything to be concerned about. If you're running more like of those coordinated charge kind of things, if you're running more combat tricks, it could be interesting. If you have some auras, there's a couple auras. Colossification on the 1/1, right? Make it a 21/21. Oh boy. Pardon me. But otherwise, I wouldn't really mess with this too much. Maybe run one of them in your deck if you have like some humans energy. Divine Arrow. This event goes by many names, but today it is Divine Arrow. I think in the past it was like Gideon's Fist in your jugular. I don't know. So 1 and a white. For an instant speed, Divine Arrow deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Yeah, I mean, limited, that's actually fine. It's very nice. 3.5 out of 5. You are happy to run this card. I mean, it's common, so, you have to expect that. Even if you're not running this, just be aware if your opponent has white, that, if you attack with something that has 4 or less toughness, it might just die. Yeah, really nice card to have there. In standard, I try not to, have my, try not to watch too many other reviews of cards and just give my, my opinion, but I did hear that apparently at some point, if there's not a whole lot of removal, then control decks could go towards this sort of thing, but we have a decent amount of things. We actually got like a form of cast down back, so I'm gonna say 1 out of 5 standard. It might see someplace, not actually a horrible card, but I don't think so. Okay, moving forward. Dranith Healer, 1 and a white for a 2/2 human. Cleric, might as well throw that in there too. Whenever you cycle another card, you gain 1 life. And cycling for 1. So it's a bear. Bears just need a 2/2 for 2. It's a bear, and whenever you cycle, you gain 1 life. It doesn't really matter too much, honestly. I don't really put much weight into that ability at all. It's worth, I'm gonna say maybe like a quarter of a point, not even. Standard, I'm gonna say 0 out of 5 there. The only way you'd really try to run this in standard is with like some sort of a Johnny's Pride mate, you know, synergy there. And there's already plenty of that going on, just with Healer's Hawks and I mean Impassioned Orator, but that's a bad one. There's plenty of ways to gain life. Oh yeah, obviously Heliod and like Daxos and stuff. So there's things. Now beyond that, in the fact that it has cycling just for one generic mana, that's really strong. The fact you can just pay one, you often kind of have one just laying around somewhere, just say, you know what, this card's gone. I don't think it makes this ability better, but I think it just makes the card better overall, just because it's a very nice keyword to have around. So in limited, I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. Even though the ability isn't that great, if you get this early game, you could try to use it to stabilize if your opponent's trying to do anything, and just try to get something on the board. If you are, maybe you have something like human plus have a non-human creature on the board thing, so this is a cheap way to enable that if you need to get a human down. And if it's later on and this does nothing, then cycle it away for 1 mana. How many times do you know, end your turn and you have 1 mana just floating around like, whatever. It's gone now. It's wasted. It's in the ether. Just like the rest of this thing. Okay. Dranith Magistrate. Oh, did I say? Yeah, I think it's a 2 out of 5. Yeah, it's 2 out of 5. Alright, a 2 mana 1/3 human wizard. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So this is another one of those mono white kind of control prison denial cards that we have. We've seen like Grand Abolisher in the past, Tocatli Honor Guard, Hushbringer recently, and Throne of Eldraine, and now we have Dranith Magistrate. Ugh. So in limited, I don't see this having many uses at all. I don't know what they would be. I'm sure there's some way that this actually makes sense in limited, but this is probably something that shuts down. It shuts down more than you might think, but in just the strictly Ikoria, like, you know, 3 packs of Ikoria or Ikoria sealed, I don't see it working out there. So in limited, like, oh geez, I'd give it like a 1 out of 5 maybe, just because it could stick around if you're really into that human thing, but really a 0 out of 5. I wouldn't want to run this card. Like a 0.5. In standard, it could potentially see some play because when it shuts down adventure things. You can still play the adventure, but you can't bring the creature back afterwards, so you would have to either count on your opponent screwing up, or just them not wanting to get the other part of it, or have the creature already exiled on the adventure, and then you play this, because you'd be casting the creature from exile. So that's a good way to shut that down. Also, escape gets shut down with this, which is rather nice. Is there anything else that this would stop? There's probably a few other things I'm not really thinking of. Also, it says it can't cast spells, so Jumpstart actually does get shut down there too, because it's played from the graveyard. It's not just creatures. So there's definitely a few things there. There's probably some other effects I'm not really thinking of. Oh, Light of the Stage, because they go into exile, as well as Escape to the Wilds, because those are all exiled. Yeah. So a lot of the ways this thing actually shuts things down. Mostly adventure decks though, because they already run Escape to the Team Adventures, runs Adventures, and Escape to the Wilds. So I could see this as a sideboard card in the sense that this is a very real sideboard option. I'm going to give it a N with 3 toughness instead of 2, so Bone Crusher can't just pick it off on its own. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I think that this will see some sideboard play. Not main board, but tuck it on the side. And constructed, of course. Fight as 1 for 1 white. You know, when I mentioned the cycling, you know, for 1, I was like, wow, this is a really strong thing just because it only costs 1. Anything that costs 1 or less, because 0 is an option, is always worth just considering. I feel like there's always, you know, the difference between 1 and 2 mana is huge. The difference between 0 and 1 mana is also huge, because you can just play it, you know, whatever, turn 1 without worrying about anything, but 1 and 2 is also a huge jump, and then 2 and 3, it's like, okay, you're doing whatever. So, anyway, this card, cost 1 white. Instant speed, choose 1 or both. Target human you control gets +1/+1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Or target non-human creature you control gets the same +1/+1 and indestructible. So that is a very nice effect, actually. In standard, I actually almost think this could see some play. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be for the human, non-human, but the fact that it says humans and everything else means you always have a target for it, at least. Anything, if you put this on a changeling, you can actually target the changeling with both effects. Just a little thing there. Because it is both human and actually no, it's not non-human. It is always a human, so you can only target the one. Damn! Thought it was being interesting. Anyway. But now then. So in standard, this could see a little bit of play just because it costs 1 mana. You save a creature or 2. You could even use your own board wipe. If there's white, maybe there's a, you know, Wrath of the Gods or whatever it's called. Anger of the Gods, I think is what it actually is. Or you could still be running, you know, black and white, so you could have Kaya's Wrath, and this could save it from that. Indestructible is a very, very strong keyword. And do not underestimate the fact that something just doesn't die for the turn. So yeah, it could see some play there. I'm going to say, like, 2 out of 5. I think it might be seen in a tier 2 deck potentially. I put it along the likes of like Karametra's Blessing and Selesnya enchantments, so in like Selesnya Constellation basically. So I think that's very similar power wise. As far as limited goes, I would give like a 3 out of 5 because giving something you have indestructible is very, very strong. It's a very neat combat trick. And for 1 white, your opponent either always has to be thinking about it and just hope you tap out, or maybe they just don't even think about it and you just pretty much can always have this as a threat. Flourishing Fox. Oh, I love this card just because it's Fox and it's blue and look at that thing. Oh, it's cool. I don't know. It looks nice. The artwork is very nice. So for 1 white, again, you get a 1/1 Fox. Whenever you cycle another card, put a +1/+1 counter on Flourishing Fox, and cycling for 1. So this one is so much better than the previous Bear Man, the one that heals you. The fact that this just grows, I can definitely see this in the limited sense. Just being played on turn 1. Your opponent doesn't really do anything. Okay, turn 2, land, cycle this thing, do this, play a card, cycle this. I can see this is growing because it can. And the fact that you can cycle at instant speed means also, you know, potentially like a built-in combat trick sort of thing. So that is very nice. I would say that if you have a decent number of cycling, and having copies of this is also great too, because you can just cycle them all like on their own. And if it's later in the game where you don't really have many more things to cycle, just cycle this card and get rid of it. You don't want a 1/1 on the board anyway. Oh my goodness, so nice. And it gives you and it gives you a creature, it gives you a body to adapt onto. So, you know what? Because of all that, provided you either have a decent amount of cycling or a decent amount of mutate, which are 2 keywords that are in this set, I'm going to say like 3.5 out of 5 in limited. In standard, I don't think this will work because this is a very aggressive card unless there's a whole bunch of cycle stuff that just kind of works together. I don't think the cycling... I don't want to say support, but like the benefits from cycling, the side benefits from that really... are worth it. So because of that, I'm going to say 1 out of 5. I'll give myself a little slight chance that this might see some play, but I think that this is an aggressive card and there's already more aggressive cards out there. Garrison Cat. Oh, look at the kitty. Look at the kitty with the tusks. It's like, oh, hello. It's like, it's okay. A little sharp, but, you know, it can still learn to love. Alright, so for 1 white, you get a 1/1. Again. See a little theme here. A lot of things just cost 1 white. For a cat. And when it dies, you make a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So, interesting there. It definitely works towards having, you know, the human and non-human creatures on the board. Obviously, when this dies, it makes your thing, so it's that. This is very similar to Hunted Witness, although there are better cards than Hunted Witness at the moment, so not really a whole lot going on there. Standard, I'm going to say 0 play, 0 out of 5. In limited, it's okay. The fact that it also keeps a creature around isn't that bad, although the fact that the creature that survives is not a non-human, I feel it's actually making it potentially weaker because there aren't so many things that say have a human and non-human creature. The cards that say that are kind of few and far between, I'll say. So because of that, I'll give it like a 1.5 out of 5 in limited. Artwork though and all that stuff, yeah, like 4 out of 5 artwork. I like it. It's a kitty. Okay, Helica Glider. You have 2 and a white for a 2/2 Nightmare Squirrel. 5 out of 5. That's it. You know what? I always knew the squirrels were going to get me. I hear them on the roof sometimes, and I'm just like, I know you're gonna turn. Anyway, but this card in particular, oh my god, enters the battlefield with your choice of a flying counter or a first strike counter. So basically, in case you're new to the whole, like, you know, ability counters, it just enters the battlefield with either flying or first strike, and you just put a little counter on there to keep track. Also, there are things that interact with counters, so it could be relevant, but as far as your usual play stuff and playing without the Ozolith, then it just has either flying or first strike. And I feel like more often than not you pick flying, although first strike is okay if you're planning on mutating on top of this, then it does get whatever bonus you put there. But aside from that, standard 0 out of 5, it's just not that great. And limited, I'll give it like a 2. Yeah, 2 out of 5. 3-mana 2/2 with first strike is okay. It's not too bad. And 3-mana 2/2 with flying is fine. Nothing exciting there, but the fact that you could pass on that ability it has some merit, has some value. The Huntmaster Liger. Yes, indeed. 3 and a white for a 3/4. Okay, stats aren't great, but we can work with this. Whenever this creature mutates, other creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. This is a very curious effect about any mutate creature, because in order to mutate, you need to stack a creature on top of, or on the bottom of, the stack that this is on, or you have to play this on top or bottom of something else. But essentially, you take a creature, put it on top of another creature, and it just melds with it. So you're not increasing the creature count on the board, whereas this effect is encouraging you to try to go wide, but mutate wants you to stick it all on like one thing, because you mutate this, and then they all get buffed a bunch, but I don't have all of them because I stuck them all on this creature. So it kind of like counters itself, or is like a non-combo, a non-bow, if you will. I hate the word, but you know what? It works. Anti-synergy. There we go. That's the word I like. So yeah, it's like self-defeated in there. The only thing I like about this card is that the mutate cost is 1 mana cheaper. So a 3-mana 3/4 is cool, and I think that's pretty much what you're gonna do. Maybe you play that and your creatures get buffed a little bit, but I can't really see you trying to do this too often unless you're already winning. In which case, then Sharon's going to keep stacking things, and they get buffed more on attack and buffed more on attack, sure. But otherwise, they remove that one creature, and you're screwed. So, in limited, I'll give it a 2 out of 5, just because the potential to play a 3-mana 3/4, again, you still have to put it on top of another creature, but give other things a little buff. There is going to be some value to that. In standard, 0 out of 5, though. Alright. Oh, and by the way, a little spoiler there, sorry anybody, but this is the alternate artwork for it. Because, Hail Caesar, I don't know. Pretty cool, just gonna throw that in there. I think there's a few other ones in there. Oh my goodness. Imposing Vantasaur. I feel like we all understand what this card kind of is. 5 and a white for a 3/6 with Vigilance. Cycling 1 is trying to make up for itself. It's like, I know I don't mean to impose. I'm gonna just cycle myself out and get out of here. But before I do though, I just want to say, do we have any bananas? I don't know, it just looks like he wants bananas. Also, it's because Bananasaur is in the set, so there's that. Do you have any? No, because I looked around, long neck and everything. I was trying to find him, couldn't find him. Maybe a little low to the ground. You seem shorter. I don't mean to impose on you again, but can you potentially scurry along and find some? No bananas? Okay. Anywho. So, in standard 0 out of 5. Unless there's a deck that potentially just takes all these things that cycle for 1 generic mana and puts them in there and says, when we cycle, we win the game. That's the only case I can see this seeing any play, along with a few other things that just have cycling for 1. Because it's a very, very cheap cost for cycling. I mean, it's no straight wraith, but still, it's pretty damn good. And in limited, it's like a 1.5 out of 5. It's okay, but you really don't want to play a 6-mana 3/6 just because it has Vigilance. Cool, whatever. It's not even a great body with Mutate, because do you want to go with this and have the higher toughness? Or do you want to have the higher power with some other creature, but it's more likely to die? It's not that great. I feel imposed upon. Keen Sight Mentor. There is actually a cycle, meaning there's one of these in each color, of mentors who all have a similar effect here. And they just change the keyword that affects. So, for a 2 and white, you got a 1/4 human. When Keensight Mentor enters the battlefield, put a Vigilance counter on target non-human creature you control. And you can pay 1 on a white and tap this, and then you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with Vigilance. So the fact that you can make something at Vigilance, as long as it's a non-human, and then you can continue to pump that creature, is pretty nice. Now, we have to look at here, let's see, how strong is Vigilance? I like Vigilance quite a bit as a mechanic, although you do have to be in basically an already advantageous spot. Because what it allows you to do is just basically block, or you can use it in tap abilities for your creature after you already attacked. But otherwise, if you're not too comfortable with attacking, just say you have so much life, it doesn't really matter. If you're worried about your creatures dying already, they're still going to potentially die. It doesn't actually make them stronger in combat. So it is somewhat of a win more effect, but I still like it because you can use it to buff things, and it isn't a huge investment with this creature. I'll give it like a 2 out of 5 in limited. Standard 0. Lava Brink Venturer. Oh my, this is an interesting card. For 2 and a white. You get a 3/3. Alright, 3-mana 3/3. Cool. As this enters the battlefield, choose odd or even. 0 is even. Ha! There we go. I don't know. Apparently some people think 0 is this or that or something else, so 0 is even. There we go. This is it. We have definitively said this is now a law of the universe. Lava Brink Adventurer has protection from each converted mana cost of the chosen value. So really interesting. You may or may not want to play any sort of buffs with this because it, you know, protects itself from those cards as well. Meaning if you have you know, a 2-mana buff spell for whatever reason, or a 2-mana enchantment, and you choose even, you cannot enchant it because it has protection from your own spells. Hey, let's see. From each converted mana cost of the chosen value, protection from. Okay. So I do believe that means that, you know, he just works with creatures as well. So essentially, in theory, this lives about half the time. Now there are some cards, companions, that want you to have all even cost things. There's actually one, Kairuta, I think it's called. I might be getting the name wrong, but anyway, where this literally just kind of counters their entire deck. Granted, I don't think they really need to worry about this as, you know, in particular, but it is a card that works around that pretty easily. So I do like it, and I just like the 3/3 body, and I think you could definitely make this work. And limited, it's like a, geez, I'm gonna say it's probably like a 3.5 out of 5. Not quite 4. 4 is like Planeswalker level almost. Although Planeswalkers usually hit the 5 out of 5, but sometimes not that great. But let's see. This card doesn't win the game immediately just because it's a 3-mana 3/3. It's good on rate, but it doesn't, you know, push you over the top. But it does help you stabilize quite a bit, and you can get some damage in there. In standard, this could potentially, I'm gonna say, like, the fact that since it could see some play and be kind of a strange, weird case in there, I'm gonna say 2 out of 5. I think it might make its way into a few decks. Alrighty, moving forward. Light of Hope. For 1 white, you have an instant choose one, you gain 4 life, destroy target enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. In limited, this card's great, actually. I think this is fantastic. The fact that it says destroy target enchantment, how many enchantments are there in this set right now? Not too many, although if you're playing against that whole shark explosion card, then you know what, you might you might want to have this handy. You know, they pay 6 mana, you pay 1 and blow it up, and you feel pretty good. In standard, there's just better things to do, so I think it's going to be a 0 out of 5 there, because there are other cards that do this. Usually you want to destroy enchantments or artifacts because those are like the big things. The gain 4 life doesn't really affect you too much, and the +1/+1 counter, not really a huge draw to that. So it's largely just going to be for the destruction. In limited, gain 4 life also doesn't really do too much for you because life is a resource. Hey, enchantment destruction can be valuable, and worst case is combat trick. I don't really hate it there, so I'm going to give it, I'm going to say 2. 2.5 out of 5. 2.5 out of 5 because it only costs 1 mana. If it costs 2 mana, it would be unplayable, actually. But since it costs 1, that's how good, that's how big the gap is from 1 to 2 mana, in my opinion. Yes. Luminous Broodmoth. Hey, look at this thing. You know, moths are so nice. And all they do is eat your clothes, and you know, they don't really bother you too much, except for when you try to put your clothes on. There's a hole where the pocket should be. It's like, this was supposed to be only a little hole, not a tunnel. Anyway, so 2 and 2 white for a 3/4 insect with flying. And whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Worth noting, this isn't optional, so it has to come back. It just does immediately. Sure. So this card is amazing. In limited, this is like a 4.5 out of 5. You know what? In limited, you always, this decides what colors you're going to be in. 5 out of 5. Each creature you have has to die twice, and the first time it dies, it comes back with flying, with evasion. Like, that's just so good. In constructed, in standard, it's gonna be like a 3.5 out of 5, potentially even more. The fact that it just free revives for anything, if you have any good enter the battlefield abilities, it triggers just right away. Now, sure, you might need to have some way to sacrifice the creatures to throw them out of here, and currently I don't think this actually fits in. Like, you could try like a Mardu sacrifice, black, white, and red, but I don't think this card's gonna really push it over the top, whereas Rakdos is already pretty good, and this does speed it along, but I don't know if Rakdos really tries to make games that short. I think that they're really in it for the long haul. The longer that, you know, a cat and oven are on the board, usually the better chance they have of winning. But I think there are other cases where this card can be amazing though. And just using like with a board wipe. Oh god, an RDS flying, such a good card. And spoiler, I remember this one does have an alternate artwork, so if you don't want to see it, then avert your gaze. Oh, that's perfect. Like, look at that. Isn't that just the perfect card? Honestly, they nailed it. Okay, moving forward. Majestic Oricorn. You know, majestic isn't the word I would use for something that looks like it could just be a rock. But anyway, so for 4 and a white, you get a 4/4 unicorn with vigilance, and whenever this creature mutates, you gain 4 life. So 5 mana 4/4 vigilance is alright. It's nothing great. It's okay. It's kind of boring, honestly. In limited, in standards is 0 out of 5. In limited is like a 2 out of 5 just because it has some stats. Then it can buy you some time. And don't count on the mutate ability being worth a damn thing, but yeah, it's okay. Not that mutate as a whole is bad, but this card mutating gets you nothing really. You gain some life. Okay. And the board changed how? Oh, it didn't. Thank you. Okay, main serval. 1 and a white for a 1/4 vigilant cat. Okay, just kind of plain cat. Could really stick around pretty well. In standard, 0 out of 5 there. I mean, sure, you could potentially try to, you know, buff this and mutate and be like, yeah, it has a really strong body, so I'm just going to keep buffing it, and that doesn't really get you very far, does it? I mean, Citizen Champion does it so much better. But in limited, I'm going to put this in like a 1.5, maybe not quite a 2 out of 5, but like 1.5 out of 5, because it is very sturdy. It can help stop, you know, a few onslaughts, block some bigger things, like, you know, block a 3/3 all day, or block a 3x all day, really, because it doesn't really matter what the toughness is. And the fact that it has vigilance probably doesn't matter too much, but if you can get some chip damage in there, you know, because your opponent doesn't really want to chump block too much, that's nice too. And passing on the vigilance onto something you're adapting with, or not adapting, but mutating with, it's cool too. So yeah, 1.5 out of 5 in standard. Not quite 2 out of 5. If it was like a 2/2, that'd be good, but it's not. Ah, and here we go. Remind you of anyone? You see the similarities? That's right, it's me. What? No, I'm not Snapdax. Although he seems very keen on whatever that is on top of my head. Alright, so for 2 and 2 white, Mythos of Snapdax is sorcery speed. Each creature chooses an artifact. Each creature, right. Sorry. Each creature, meaning you. Each player chooses each human player. Okay. Anyway, I made it funny. Alright, moving forward. Each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. If red and black were also spent to cast this spell, you choose the permanents for each player instead. So a lot of that's something they have in this cycle of Mythos where it costs, you know, just 2 of one color than something else, but if you add other things to it, if you add other colors to it, then you get a different effect, a better effect. Essentially. Is it always 2 of one color? I think sometimes it's 1 of one color. Anywho. Yeah, because the black one is 1 black, and then if you play blue and green, I think, then you do something else. Anywho, yeah, going forward then. So, let's take a look at it. In the case where you get to choose the targets. I mean, let's actually start with the other way. In the case where you don't get to. So, in limited, this is okay. Largely, it's going to be kill all except for 1 creature your opponent controls. How many planeswalkers are going to have? Probably 0. Enchantments, maybe 1. Artifacts, maybe 1 or 2. So is not going to do a whole lot. This is 4 mana, almost wipe the board, and also it brings you down to 1. So not feeling it unless you are actually running black and red. If you're running that wedge, the 3-color combination, the black, red, white, also known as Mardu, then I could see this being played because you can choose your opponent's weaker creature and just be like, that one lives, this big stack of nonsense here, that's out of here. And yeah, worth noting, do not try to use this as planeswalker removal, because in limited they shouldn't really have many. This is not War of the Spark. There are 3 planeswalkers in the stack. They're all mythic, so if you run into one, then you get what you got. Good luck. Right, so in that sense, if you're in those colors, this card is kind of like a 3 out of 5. Otherwise, a 2. It's really not that great. I'm really not too. The artwork is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Artwork, beautiful card art. Unfortunately, the effects leave me lacking. Now, as far as standard is concerned, where you can pretty much always hit the alternate cost, or you know, the alternate effect rather. So, killing all but 1 creature isn't bad, and being able to choose one is pretty good there. often your opponent, unless they're running super friends, which is just a whole lot of planeswalkers, are only gonna have one, maybe two on the board, so it might kill a planeswalker. But then again, if this is kill a creature and a planeswalker, that's pretty nice. And artifacts and enchantments, not too many of those going around right now. A lot of the enchantments that are there just kind of linger, like an Oath of Kaya or Omen of the Seas, where there's not really a huge deal if you get rid of it. And artifacts, sure, I mean, you can kill an oven. That's like a big thing that people might go to. You can also kill an Ember Cleave, but it's already on the board, then you might have bigger problems. But yeah, so that being said, I think this is more of a sideboard card, honestly. And you might put this in if your opponent is playing a lot of planeswalkers. If you're playing in some sort of Super Friends, Just Guy, Teamer, whatever colors they're playing, if there's a lot of planeswalkers in the deck, you can use this. Although you're probably not going to do many creatures then, are you? That's what it is. And then if you're doing that, why aren't you just running the Elder Spell if you're already running black? Huh. Okay, so you know what? I don't like this card at all. In Standard, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 just because people are going to try to make it work and maybe you'll see some play. I think it'll fall off, though, pretty quickly. In Limited, again, I already said, like, if you're running the colors and stuff, it's a little bit better. Something like a 2.5, 2-ish. Pacifism. Oh, we've seen this card a few times. Look at this, though. It's so happy. It's like, oh, yes, yes, you're beautiful. Oh, my goodness. I'm not hungry at all. I don't know why my tongue's out of my mouth, because I'm high as fuck. All right. So 1 and a white, you get an enchantment aura, each creature can't attack or block. Cool. Worth noting that your opponent cannot mutate out of this, because it's still the same creature, so it's still just part of the stack. However, they can still mutate onto it. It still has all its abilities it wants to, so if it has some sort of tap ability, or whenever you mutate, you do this much damage or gain this much life, all of those things still trigger. So you want to put this on a big vanilla dude, something that's just a pile of stats that you are shutting down. Otherwise, you're not really getting all the value out of it. So in Limited, yeah, like a 4 out of 5. I mean, hell, this card definitely sees play all the time. It's removal. It's 2-mana removal, basically, in white. In Standard, 0 out of 5, because we don't do that. This is not how we play the game. Patagia? Patricia Tiger. Pay 4 and a white for a 3/4 flyer. When Patricia enters the battlefield, target human you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So a 5-mana 3/4 flyer is okay. In Limited, like a 2 out of 5 there. It's not great. In Standard, 0 out of 5. Just overall, the whole card 0 out of 5 Standard. Let's see what else there. Target human gets +2/+2. That is definitely an effect. It's not nothing. So I'm still going to say 2 out of 5, though, because it has to target a human, which, guess what, is much more narrow than non-human. In fact, human is just one type, non-human is everything else. So it can be tricky, and likely you're going to be running both a mix of humans and non-humans in a limited format just because you don't have too many options. So there's that to consider. So it can usually buff something, but you might not always want to attack as well. So yeah, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 just because it's a decent flyer. Perimeter Sergeant. Look at this guy. Look at this, like, don't bite it. You're gonna bite my... I know you're just in the background, but I know what you're thinking. Anyway, so for 2 and a white, you get a 3/2, and whenever it attacks, other humans you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Standard, 0 out of 5. Get out of here. In Limited, you have to have more humans, which I believe there are fewer humans than non-humans in the set. I could be wrong. It could be very well balanced for all I know, but I just feel like, you know... Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, there's going to be a lot of Behemoths, and unless, you know, talking about large behemoth humans, then I don't know. So, anywho, I'm going to give this like a 3-mana 3/2, pretty bad. Like a 1.5 out of 5, maybe just a 1 out of 5. This card isn't so great. Alright, Sanctuary Lockdown. Let's what? Okay, Attack on Titan, here we come. See, Attack on Titan is now the reference we get when we see anything that's a wall. When the Birth of Melodus, when you get the wall token, that's also Attack on Titan. Wall of Omens way back then, yeah, Attack on Titan before Attack on Titan was Attack on Titan. So, if you believe it, I've only seen like 3 episodes. Anywho, 2 and a white. Maybe that's why I'm making so many references that don't make sense. Humans you control get +1/+1. Okay. Again, not really too crazy on the humans thing, but sure. You can pay 2 and tap 2 untapped humans you control. Tap target creature opponent controls. That is a very, very expensive cost. You have to have mana and at least two human creatures that are untapped. And you pay all that to stop one thing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's bad and it should feel bad. 0 out of 5, both formats. Moving on. 2 mana, 3/1, Savai Sabertooth. Standard 0 out of 5. I think we already have, like, what the heck is it, like a Rescuros Swiftclaw or something? I don't know. There's another card that is actually like a cat that has the same exact stats, so I think it's just a different name. So, and that's the 0 play. And if I just made up the word Rescuros or whatever, then you know what? Hey, creativity. Points for that. And moving on though, for limited, it's okay, but it can very easily be picked off. There are multiple ways to deal 1 point of damage in this format. There's a lot of 1/1s floating around there for 1, so I'm gonna say like a 1 out of 5 there. Maybe just because, hey, it's a 3/1, and it doesn't even have anything. Yeah, 0 out of 5. 0 out of 5. Get out of here. It's bad. Okay. Snare Tactician. 2 and a white for a 2/3 human soldier. Whenever you cycle a card, tap target creature and opponent controls. This isn't the card that's going to make cycling good. So 0 out of 5 in standard. In limited, it's okay. Just like a 2 out of 5 there, because in the chance where you do actually cycle 1 or 2 cards and you manage to like swing them with your whole team, then guess what? That's awesome. Then you're gonna love it. And otherwise, not so good. But I think it can see some of those niche situations. And if not, it's a 2/3, so at least you can kind of stabilize a little bit. And for the cards that want humans on the board, it is a little more hardy, so that's nice. Now, solid footing. For 1 white, you get a flash enchantment, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+1. So, quick little buff there, it lingers around. So, in standard 0, although, let me rethink this now. Would you ever see this in the Selesnya Constellation deck, just because it only costs 1, and you throw an enchantment in there suddenly, and then, I still think that there are better ways to do that. The fact that it has flash is nice, but I don't really think that makes it suddenly worth it. So maybe as like a 1-of, but overall no. In some, I'm gonna say 0 out of 5 in standard though. In limited, then I'm going to say 1 out of 5. It can give a little buff. It can, you know, take something and keep the fact that it keeps the buff makes it kind of worth something. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I didn't even read the bottom. I was like, you know what? And there's just text there. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because flavor text, and this is actual text. As long as the enchanted creature has vigilance, it assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. That's weird. I'm gonna disregard that entirely anyway, because something having vigilance is going to be rather narrow and a rather niche situation, and it's gonna really make you want to put it on one creature even though it might be better on another creature. So ignoring that entirely, 1 out of 5. Okay, cool. I didn't see something I didn't really need to. All right. Splendor Mare. For 2 and a white, you get a 3/3 Elk Unicorn. That's a type. With lifelink, cycling for 2, and when you cycle this card, put a lifelink counter on target creature you control. So 3 mana, 3/3 lifelink. Sure, that's okay. That's like a 2 out of 5 there. Cycling for 1 and a white, not bad. You could pass on the lifelink if you really want to. I'm gonna say 2.5 out of 5 in limited. I think it's not too bad at all. You know, it's just right middle line, just right in the middle there. Like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna put this in my deck, and I'm gonna feel just fine about it. In standard, I'm gonna feel horrible, so I'm not gonna put it in my deck. So it's gonna be 0 out of 5. Spontaneous flight. Ah, suddenly. See, that's what you do. See, I like to imagine that the person there just kind of threw the fox in the air before it had wings, just not knowing. It's like, well, oh my goodness, it flies now. Well, would you look at that? It just mutated, you know, split second there. So. For 2 and a white, you get an instant target creature gets +2/+2 until a turn. Put a flying counter on it. So we've seen a similar effect in Mighty Leap, which cost 1 less, and it gets buffed and gets flying for the turn. Whereas now the thing keeps flying on it, which is quite nice. It's a little extra spicy. Those wings are kind of spicy. I don't know, it looks kind of fiery. So that's why I'm saying that. So in limited, I'm gonna put this at like a 3 out of 5. The fact that it buffs itself and now you have a flyer for a while is really nice. Instant speed, even you can even just do it during your turn. Just be like, hey, this is gonna fly by the way, and I'm gonna attack you, instead of like, you know, trying to get some nonsense going. But it's definitely a nice little sneaky thing there. Imagine your opponent attacking not only to use this as a combat trick to, you know, beat one of their creatures in combat, but now they have a flyer that's pretty strong they have to deal with. Well, only the buff only lasts for the turn, but now they have a flyer they have to work around. I'm like, oh geez, not only do I lose a creature, but now you have a flyer, and that made things more complicated. So it's a double whammy right there. But in standard, 0 play. But unlimited, yeah, 2.5 out of 5. It's actually nice for a little buff. Stormwind Caprador. Yes, yes, I want to say like it's a Matador or something. For 2 and a white, you get a 1/3 Bird Goat. Not the best typing, but I love it though. I mean, I don't want to say this is the best one because I actually think Brushwag is probably the best thing I've seen so far. Just creature type Brushwag, yeah. But Bird Goat is a close second. Okay. Although, geez, there was like Zombie Hippo, so you know, might want to think of that again. 1/3 flyer. If non-combat damage would be dealt to Stormwind Caprador. Oh, Storm Wild, sorry, not Stormwind. Although there's probably some wind going on the storm. You know, I'm not entirely incorrect, am I? Yeah, I am. Prevent that damage. So this is immune to all lightning bolts, which kind of makes sense. That's why there's lightning bolts shooting out of his wings. Put a +1 counter on Storm Wild Caprador for each 1 damage prevented this way. So it turns your burn spells into buff spells for this guy. Granted, you can say, well, why would I do that? You know, why would I shock my Caprador and punch for an extra 2 damage where I can just shock my opponent's face? If you're planning on attacking multiple times, it could work. Talking about standard. And also, there are some cards that can only target creatures to deal damage with. And this... usually, they cost a little bit cheaper because of the narrow targeting like restriction, because you can't go face with it. But suddenly you do that, and then this goes face. There's gonna be... this is a meme card, okay? Let me just put it out there. This is a meme card, 100% meme card. For that reason, 2 out of 5 standard, because people love to meme, and I'm one of them. So I just want to see some play. It's gonna see some play early on. They're gonna make some crazy OTK decks, or some really obvious OTKs, and I think it's just gonna be hilarious. In limited, 3 mana for a 1/3 flyer that can't be taken down by damage. I already reviewed the red cards. There aren't too many things that just shoot things, and a lot of things that kill flyers just kill them unconditionally. Just like, this is a flyer. It doesn't really worry about the power toughness. So Plummet is exactly what I'm thinking of, actually. So it loses a lot of value there. So in that sense, in limited, I'm going to say it's like a 1 out of 5. Just because it's a flyer, it actually has some merit, but otherwise it'd be horrible. In standard, like I said, 2 out of 5. It's going to see some play. It's a meme card, and when we get over the memes, it'll move on and find another storm somewhere. Okay, Swallow Whole. How do you swallow a hole? A hole is the absence of things to swallow. Anyhow, so for 1 white, you get a sorcery thing. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped creature you control. So it's 1 white, but is it really 1 white? It's still kind of 1 white. Exile target tapped creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on the creature tapped to pay this spell's additional cost. So this is a sorcery speed, so we can't even use it like as an instant. Like, I'm blocking, then I play this, then I tap my creature, but it's already declared a blocker. Can't do that unless you plus Teferi. Beyond that though, you exile target tap creature. That's really not bad at all. In limited, this is a very nice card. In standard, I'm going to say 0 out of 5 here, just because although it is 1 mana exile something, it's usually tapped because it attacked you, so you already took some damage, and you have to be playing creatures, so in order to, you know, fulfill the other casting cost, which means you're not playing too much of a control deck. I mean, I guess if you're playing something, you could tap a wall you got from the Birth of Melodus, and well done there. Maybe tap an Arboreal Grazer if you were ramping. But beyond that, I don't really see that being very, very valuable. I mean, you could tap like a weak Krasis. But in limited though, you're definitely both gonna have creatures, and you could just say, you know, buff your creature, remove their thing, and the fact that it exiles is awesome. So yeah, in limited, this is like, oh geez, 3.5 out of 5. If it was an instant, that'd be busted. If it was an instant, that'd be 5 out of 5. Easy 5 out of 5 instants in limited. But in the case that is not instant, 3.5, maybe even 4 out of 5. This is a very, very nice card. Valiant Rescuer. For 1 and a white. I laugh because it almost looks like the guy's like carrying the actual like Velociraptor behind him, but then it's a person. I was like, yeah, you can rescue a monster too, why not? You can rescue non-humans. Don't be typeist, creature type, racist, speciesist. Yeah, don't be speciesist. Okay, moving forward. So 2 mana for a 3/1. Whenever you cycle another card for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token, and cycling cost of 2. I don't think this card makes cycling good. 2 mana for a 3/1 that actually has an ability though is better than the cat that is just 2 mana for a 3/1 that is nothing. So is not horrible. Having cycling is okay. So I'd say like a 1, maybe 1.5 out of 5. And limited. Standard 0, 0, Zilcho, nada, get out of here. Vulpikeet, now this is a beautiful card. Look at those, like, those feathers, the colors, everything. Oh my goodness, I love it. So for 3 and a white, you get a 2/3 flyer. And now the card is less beautiful. Whenever this creature mutates, play the +1/+1 counter on it. So that's okay. In standard, I see this as a 0 out of 5. Just because it's expensive to not really do a whole lot. And in limited, it's okay. It kind of gets around the fact that you have to, you know, basically eat a creature to mutate. You have to, like, absorb one. So the fact that it puts a counter on it means that, you know, even though you're not constantly buffing the stats necessarily, it's not bestow, so you're not just adding the stats together. It still does get a buff that way, so that's kind of nice. And it gives it flying as well. So in that, I'm going to say 2 out of 5 in limited. I think this actually could see some play. And if I get one, I might just play it because the artwork is nice. I'm not going to lie. I like seeing it on the board. Okay, and this is the last one for white. Woohoo! We got there. For 1 and a white, we have Will of the All Hunter. At instant speed, you can. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's blocking instead, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And cycling for 2. That is actually a really nice little combat trick there. Obviously, it's defensively, you know, better because the creature keeps the buff there. For 2 mana, something gets buffed for a while if it's blocking, and you can also cycle this if you don't really care. Absolutely nice card. 3 out of 5 unlimited. In standard, 0 out of 5 because, you know, you don't really see too many combat tricks in standard unless it's just win the game combat trick, and this is not win the game combat trick. So there's that. But in limited, absolutely. The fact that you can cycle it if you don't really care too much, if you're already just fine, or if you need removal instead of this, if you don't have any half creature, and the fact that the buff can stick around depending on how you use it, it's so nice. It's really, really nice there. So absolutely, yeah, 3 out of 5 and limited. And with that, I believe we are done with the white cards. Okay, we got there. So feel free, let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, if you feel like, I don't know, like blue and yellow are a decent combination, even though yellow chroma key's out for some reason. I don't know. What's your favorite pizza topping? There we go. Something. Okay. I don't know, just something to throw in there. If you like this, I'm going to be playing some games hopefully pretty soon. I do stream, so there should be a link to my Twitch down below as well. And hopefully you have a good time. You know, stay safe, stay healthy. Good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.